Hello and welcome to Battle Driven, a Warmachine and Hordes explicit podcast, where myself, Dan Riker, and Jeff Fredrickson are going to be talking about Warmachine and everything that pertains to our daily Warmachine life. As I said, I'm Dan Riker. I am located in Connecticut, and I've been playing Warmachine for probably about 2.5 years, I think it is. Jeff, how about you?
I live in New York City. I've been playing War Machine for a little under 4 years.
Damn. Okay, well, so this is our first episode, and basically all we're going to be trying to go through is introductions of each other, and where we came from, stuff like that, and then we kind of spitballed, and we thought that maybe the topic of the new gargantuans, and maybe some wild speculation of what they're going to be doing and how they're going to affect the game. So for introductions, we'll start with myself. I started just gaming in general at a very young age. It all started with the Pokemon card game, and I'm kind of dating myself because we're both very young.
Oh yeah.
I'm 23, and a lot of times when we're talking about origin stories and quotations, they're like, back in my day when D&D was second edition. No, I started with like Pokemon, stuff like that, and then at about 7, my father took me to the Dragon's Lair, and that was a very popular store in Hartford. It was very well known, like one of the only like gaming stores in Connecticut. And I started playing Mech Warrior, the click system, and it was hilarious because I'm 7 years old playing against 35-year-olds, and I wasn't walking through and being like an idiot savant and just beating everybody, but like I was still winning every once in a while, and that was a huge deal for me. And it was kind of like, you go to school all week and then you have that Mech Warrior tournament at the end of the week. Well, that stumbled into card games, and then I started playing Yu-Gi-Oh! And Magic, and everything I've played throughout my life, I've been extremely competitive, and I've always tried to push myself to the highest level I could. With Mech Warrior, this is the highest level of, I would say, my quote-unquote success was I was nationally ranked for that, and then they came out with a kids league, and it was great because it was really cool because it was me, my older brother who was 4 years older than me, and my dad. We'd all go and we'd play this game, and we were really good at it. And so they came out with the kids league, and my brother and I just basically laughed at each other, and we ended up being first and second in the state. And then I went to Yu-Gi-Oh! And I really got into that, like super crazy. And I went to a regionals, and it's so funny to talk about these stories because I had to get up at 5 in the morning so that my mom could bring me to my dad when he was at work, so he could we could drive an hour and a half to this fucking regional, and then he could just sit in the car for like 14 hours while I went and played card games. And then I come out every round and be like, "Oh man, I made top 16." He's like, "What the hell does that mean?" "Well, I'm gonna keep playing." And he's like, "Oh shit." So I made top 8. I made top 4. I'm at final table. What happened? I lost. Game's fucking stupid. I don't want to play it anymore. So then, went to Magic, played a whole bunch of that. And then I started playing 40K in Fantasy. And I was like, man, card games suck. Miniatures games are awesome. I completely forgot how cool it was when you're looking at a table and you're playing this. It's Lord of the Rings every fucking game. You're just like, this is awesome. It's a crazy epic battle and all these guys are dying, but it doesn't matter because all these guys are alive. And then I was playing 40K and I was having a good time, but I was just getting more and more frustrated when the 1 in 3 games and you just get terrible dice.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody dies and you can't do anything about it, and people are just like, well, that's just the game. Like, that's fucking stupid. So, I was living in Plainville at the time, and it was on a random summer day. I'm just sitting there, and my wife at the time was at work. And I was like, you know what? I think I saw that there's a comic book shop down the road, and I didn't have a license. So, I walked like a mile and a half down the road, and I walked into the comic book shop. And it was Flagship Comics and Games, and it just happened to be the Warmachine Day. And a buddy of mine, we both went in on a 2-player starter, and he like immediately backed out. He was like, "Nope, this isn't the game for me. This is stupid." So he just gave me the other half, and it was the Warmachine one. So I walked in there, and one of the guys that was there he was trying to get rid of his scorn, and I was like, oh man, this is like the elephants. They're really cool. I like them. And he was like, oh well, do you have anything? And I was like, well, I have the 2-player starter. And he was like, oh well, I kind of want the men off side of that. I was like, you're shitting me, right? He's like, no, they're like, I'd give you all this for the men off side. It was ridiculous trade in my favor, and I was like, oh man, I gotta do this. So I like ran back home to get the men off stuff to run back there to trade it to him, and that's how I got into the game. Um, and then ever since, it's just been a lot of playing. I try to go to conventions when I can, and just a lot of tournaments.
All right.
How about you, Jeff?
Let's see. Played a lot of video games when I was a kid.
Mm-hmm.
Couldn't really get to any stores that often, so I wasn't really into comic books too much.
Mm-hmm.
Like superhero stuff like that, always pretty awesome, but mostly video games. A lot of Majora's Mask, and a lot of World of Warcraft.
Mm-hmm.
Played some Magic in high school, but didn't get like super serious about it until college. And from that point on, I started looking at competition very seriously,
Mm-hmm.
and one of the things that caused me to look around at a lot of different miniature games was my interest in the MMO for Warhammer Fantasy,
Mm-hmm.
which I played a little bit, but it was really just a gateway for me into 40K.
Sure.
And while the game was fine for what it is, it didn't really have the competitive pull that I was looking for.
Okay.
So I was really fortunate that at about the same time I became disenfranchised with 40K, Warmachine was kind of building up in my area in Poughkeepsie that the
Okay.
Dragon's Den scores. So as 40K waned, Warmachine grew, and we've always been kind of a small group at Dragon's Den. Pretty much consistently 5 or 6 guys for the, like, let's see, 24 now, so like 6-7 years we've been playing there, really.
Wow.
So I think that's one of the things that's really gotten me to where I am, is just dedication, more so to keeping a group like tight-knit
Mm-hmm.
and just trying to be as good friends as possible is what's kept me playing games.
So do you feel that it's I've sometimes equated Warmachine to like weightlifting,
Mm-hmm.
where it's more of a mental weightlift, obviously, than a physical, hopefully, unless you do play Trolls, so it's cough, cough. Um, but it was one of those things where if you keep those people, that almost like everybody gets disenfranchised with the game, everybody gets
Mm-hmm.
burnt out at a certain point. You can only play the same game so many times before it gets boring, you know. And the dice, they help keep it exciting,
Yeah.
because sometimes things that shouldn't happen or things that should happen don't or do. And that's always what makes it cool. But, you know, when you know, let's say you and I, we played a matchup 100 times,
Mm-hmm.
and you've won it 95 times, I don't really want to play that matchup anymore. It's just kind of like, okay, we can agree it's pretty bad, not too many things I can do to stop it, and let's just move on. But if you have that tight-knit group, you're constantly getting feedback, and it's almost like you're constantly debating, but you already know where they kind of stand on a lot of issues. So when somebody gives you feedback on a list, I always feel that they're just kind of like splatting on the wall.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like, well, this is how I feel you should do this. And you have no idea what their play style is. You have no idea what their priorities are in the game. Some people are just hyper scenario players.
Mm-hmm.
And like that's how they win every single time. They never go for caster kill. They never really care about it. And they don't even, they take it off the table. And I don't think that's a good idea, but that's their idea. So maybe if I make those changes, yeah, maybe I'll have a better scenario list. But maybe that doesn't fit my play style. So that's always a huge grain of salt I take whenever I talk about lists with anybody.
Absolutely. It's really funny, actually, when we're building lists and we go to the group. This is our two-list pairing. Everyone else in the group goes, okay, well, for my two-list pairing, if we play against each other, I'm going to play this list, he's going to play this list. And so now we know basically where the other person's thinking and what matchup they want to play.
Definitely.
So it actually leads to sometimes matchups don't get tested when they probably should.
Yeah.
A great example of this is Zack. When he plays Crix into Calandra against me, he has no idea what's going to happen because he's only played the mashup once or twice.
Before we get too deep, Jeff, what factions do you play?
Oh, so I've played at this point about half the factions in this game.
Sure.
I started on Crix, jumped around quite a bit. I really liked the undead theme, and that's really what got me into them. Bonus points for being just ball-busting ridiculous.
Yeah.
Moved on to Legion after that. That was just a straight power hop. I'll admit that one. The faction is great, though. It's a lot of fun. I enjoyed it. Moved on to Protectorate, which I didn't really see any success with. I don't think they meshed with me too well. That was probably the point where I was playing the least amount of Warmachine as well.
Which doesn't help.
Yeah. After that, Circle to play Epic Morvana. And then...
That was when she first came out, right?
Yeah, right when she first came out. She is ridiculous.
Broken his balls.
Yep. And now we're on Trolls.
About how long have you been playing Trolls for now?
Been playing Trolls for, at this point, probably about a year and a half, maybe a little longer.
Gotcha. Myself, I've played every single faction except for Convergence.
You've played Ret?
Yeah. Yeah, that's sad. But I have terrible faction ADD, and it's more of just the ooh shiny. It's not really like, oh man, Kador's broken his balls, I'm just gonna play them. It's always like, Butcher 3, you seem awesome. Like, it's not even like I go to a tournament and I lose to Butcher 3 and now I'm gonna play Butcher 3.
Sure.
It's more just, I beat Butcher 3 every single time I played him, but man, do I want to play him. And it's just things like that, and it's not even really new releases, because sometimes you just get an epiphany. You're like, oh man, like, when somebody has a great idea in the shop and you hear it and you're just like, oh my god, that's amazing, I want to play that. And then you realize it's going to take you like $1,200 to be able to make a two-list pairing just to try it out. Anyways, so you do that a couple times, and then you stop punching yourself in the dick, and you stick to a faction. So I jump, but I think I finally found a good home with Legion. I played Legion before, and funny enough that I had the most success I've had in my Warmachine gaming experiences with Legion.
A career.
I guess it's a career. I don't know. I always find it kind of weird to treat it like a job, because it is a hobby.
It is.
But I had the most success I've had with Legion, most like tournament wins and stuff like that. And then I kind of faded away, but it was kind of random. Like, there was no real reason for it. And it was funny because I felt like Legion kind of really clicked with me. I'm a very aggressive player, and I've always liked the more glass cannon-y factions in any game. Except for fantasy. I play dwarves, because dwarves are amazing. Anyways.
Just because you look like a dwarf, right? Like that's.
Shut up. You shut your face.
I'm not trying to be mean here. I'm just making an observation, Riker.
You look like a troll. Anyways.
A little bit. Not at all. Not at all.
Paint your face blue. But glue rocks to your face.
I wish.
I wish. But funny enough, it was your old Legion that I played the first time. They disappeared, and then recently I got them back.
Yep.
So it's my Bubblegum Pink Legion, and they are amazing.
Delicious.
So, before we get any deeper, Jeff, was there any really big thing that, other than the competitive draw, that drew you to Warmachine? Why did you start playing this magnificent game?
I really like the scenarios,
Sure.
and j- beyond any competitive play, organized play, anything like that, I actually really like the fact that a lot of these models are one-piece metal models, or that they don't have like multiple poses,
Lazy
stuff like
son of a
that.
bitch.
No, it's not that at all.
Oh, okay.
I like following the directions. All right, Riker.
Oh,
It's
you
very
like
simple.
Legos kits with handbooks?
Sure, we can go with
Mm-hmm.
that.
Mm-hmm. Insert rod A into slot B.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that's just the
Uh,
best. It's so easy.
you don't like the GW. This arm goes kinda here.
It, the GW model is fine, but you end up paying a lot of money for things that you don't necessarily need.
That's fair. That's
Which,
fair. Before we just go on a bashing trip, for me, it was I when you play a lot of games, I play a lot of board games and I play a lot of card games. Everybody talks about the difference between an American game and a European game. Uh, and I feel like a European game is typically it's very methodical.
hmm
It's very you can pinpoint the decision where you made a mistake
hmm
and how it eventually had a domino effect on how you lost the game. So that's why people usually have a little more respect for European games because they feel like there's more strategy and less luck. A lot of American games, it's a lot of slot machines,
hmm
and you just randomly hit the jackpot. Um, what I love about this game is that all I gotta do is kill your caster, and nothing else matters. So if I have two models alive, there's almost no other miniature game in existence that has that comeback factor
hmm
of just, oops, I killed your caster. Your entire army, even though no models died, is running away, and I win. And there were just so many games where maybe things didn't go your way. Maybe you had a perfect plan, quote unquote, that relied on a bunch of below average dice to still be accomplished. And maybe you see a whole bunch of ones and twos. But if you say, you just go chips in and you get lucky and you kill the caster, it's not reliable, but it happened. And I think that's the biggest thing that makes people draw towards this game, where there are a lot of war games
hmm
where if you lose too much in one turn, you're not coming back no matter what.
Oh yeah, you look at the Alpha Strike in
Mm-hmm.
40K. First turn is of the utmost importance,
Mm-hmm.
and while there are obvious advantages to getting the first turn in War Machine, second turn can be very advantageous depending on terrain,
Exactly.
and model positioning can allow you to overcome the disadvantages of going second due to the shortened threat ranges of everything.
Agreed. Um, and I mean, it's not even just 40K. You have games like Flames of War.
hmm
You have games like Rivet Wars. I mean,
I have no idea what that is.
it's a little mini. It's a newer game.
Okay.
Even Monster Apocalypse.
hmm
If you get one turn of just good dice and you clear out some stuff, like they're just not coming back.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Um, and that's just a few examples. Uh, but so I play Legion. You play Trolls. Um, what if would you say Trolls is your favorite faction?
Oh yeah,
Why
absolutely.
is that?
Trolls really encompass everything I was looking for in a War Machine or Hordes faction. The sturdiness of the War Beasts combined with their ability to be out front and apply pressure is really what draws me to them.
Okay. Is there what would you say are your top three favorite casters to play?
So, love P. Doomshaper.
Why is that?
The advantages you get by bringing him in the Runes of War tier allow for someone that I think, not someone, a caster that suffers a little bit from having a strong but at the same time slightly diluted toolbox. Like brings them to the forefront and lets you use some interesting spells. And the feat is just so versatile.
Mm.
The ability to shut off transfers if you want to go for an assassination run, or to punish someone that you get an alpha on thanks to your strong Rune Shaper tar pit. One thing that I think is going to become very apparent with me very quickly, I don't play casters necessarily as so much as I play lists.
Okay.
So that's always something to take in
Now,
mind.
was that a recent change or?
No, I've once I have a list for a warcaster or warlock, it'll pretty much never change. I'm very much of the opinion that you need to put your tools in there, and then you need to deal with as much as possible.
Okay. Now, once again, I think going hand in hand, you were talking about, just basically when you were learning the game, a big helper for you was diligence.
Mm-hmm.
It was the repetition and the continuance of a group of people trying to get better. Now, I feel, if I'm being objective, that you have almost multiplied that. The effectiveness that you're getting on a month-to-month basis with your games, and the level that you are increasing your expertise of those lists is compounding due to the fact that for the past year you've been playing that same list pair.
Yeah, that's definitely been the number one factor in improving my game. I just change nothing and prepare to play into whatever matchup I have to.
And it's one of those things where like you've hit so many just random matchups and you're just like, this isn't a tournament game, or this is a tournament game, and you're getting ready for a convention, you're just like, let's see how this matchup plays.
Absolutely. The most important thing you can bring to a game is your past experience.
Exactly, and even you can go even further to be like, maybe Runes wasn't really great in this scenario.
Mm-hmm.
It's a great matchup for me, like list-wise, but you know what? Maybe Calandra would be better than that. Now, I think it was kind of funny because how do you run your Calandra list?
So my current Calandra list is the Evolutionary Elementalism tier, run at
Mm-hmm.
tier 3.
Sure.
It's Calandra with 4 Slag Trolls, 3 Pyro Trolls, 3 Storm Trolls, a Winter Troll, Max Krillstone with the Stone Scribe, and a Rune Bear.
No Janissa?
No, Janissa
Oh,
is
obviously,
locked up
Runes
in
of War.
Runes of War.
Derp, derp. So what I found kind of hilarious about that is that you recently had some success at TempleCon, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yep, second
Um,
place.
Second place in Masters, and it was your first Masters that you qualified for, right?
Yeah, the first, real one.
Yeah. And I found it very hilarious because a lot of people poo-pooed that list. They felt that you needed to bring warders in it. They
Mm-hmm.
felt that you needed to bring at least rune shapers. You needed to bring something. You couldn't possibly just light spam. But I think, it's a really hilarious thing to be 11 points up on your opponent.
Yeah, the ability of the list to provide multiple activations and layers is something of a strength that I think a lot of people don't necessarily see on paper.
Hmm.
And a lot of opponents really mess that up as well because of how easy it is for your war beasts to clear each other off. One thing I did was the Winter Troll being able to put his Animus on a beast and then aim and spray to kill any infantry models on him, and then that beast activates and cannot be damaged by the spray or crit stationaried.
Yeah,
That's huge.
it's a big deal. Um, I mean, you turn that spray from hitting maybe 1 to 2 people to where you can hit 3 to 4.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's a big deal. But what, I just thought was absolutely hilarious is just seeing that list on the table. It's one thing to look at it on paper and you're just like, oh yeah, whatever, it's a bunch of lights. And then you realize, like, that is so many boxes.
Oh yeah, it
And you
has
just,
way more boxes than the Mead Mountain does,
uh-huh.
and a lot of people don't really see that because at 21 boxes each, they're pretty hefty under Star-Crossed
Hmm.
and the Stone.
Oh, it's crazy. And then worst comes to worst, like you did in Masters, you could just be like, oh, guess I'm just gonna feat and try and kill your caster.
Mm-hmm. That absolutely
That's
happens.
pretty freaking crazy. Um, Not to mention, I mean, the four slide trolls they're all freaking weapon masters.
Oh
I
yeah,
mean, obviously against Jax, but like that's a highly underrated shot. I mean, don't get me wrong. There's been an increasing magnifying glass on trolls as these releases have come out.
mm-hmm.
But it's still astonishing when you finally see it. There's like, oops, that the four slags, even with poor dice, they're taking off half a colossal.
Yeah. So I played at Nova in August. I played
Mm-hmm.
the Calandrelist in the hardcore,
Uh-huh.
and I was very fortunate at one round to get matched up against Syntherian,
Mm-hmm.
playing Prime Axiom and a bunch of other heavies. And the ability to feat and take off take the Prime Axiom off the table, even
Mm-hmm.
with the reconstruct on it, is just
Wow.
incredible.
Wow. Was that just the slags, or was it more?
Just 4 slags.
Oh my lord.
Yeah, the dice spikes on Calandra's feat turn are absolutely incredible, and nowhere in the realm of uncommon.
Exactly. I mean, you have two rerolls basically.
Mm-hmm.
'Cause, I mean, there's only four of them. There's 8 shots. You have 7 fury at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Um, but it's crazy. Jeff, what would you like to talk about?
So I'm really excited about the upcoming Gargantuans.
Why is that?
I think Privateer Press has a chance to really put some really interesting models out that provide not only awesome new sculpts, but also really interesting rules. And I think they're going to create some really unique models here.
So as you were saying, we learned from our past experiences. What was your overall experiences with the previous Gargantuans?
I think most of the Gargantuans are fairly underwhelming. I think they all have slightly too low Fury stats and don't really provide the same amount of board control that the Colossals bring to the table. You
Okay.
have nowhere in the power of the numerous drags, covering fires, storm pods, anything like that.
So, in my personal opinion, like I said, I played so many factions.
Mm-hmm.
So, I've dabbled with a whole bunch of different Gargantuans, and funny enough, the only one that I haven't played is the Archangel. Um, and it was just it was funny because I was listening to another podcast, and I share a very similar with their theory of you start with the Gargantuan, and you notice that with the Colossal lists, they don't really do anything much in the means of support.
Mm-hmm.
They do and they don't. Like for the Storm Wall, it's really easy to slap a junior on it and you're done.
Oh yeah.
Like other than that, it runs perfectly fine. Like Bart Galleon, it was Bart and Submerge. Like that was it. Spiny Growth, yay! Those are models that you could already take.
Yep.
Like
Earthbreaker does the
and be
exact same thing.
exactly, and that's like a package. People think like that's the assassination package,
Yep.
and it's like 4 points in solos. You're just like what? Okay, I'm bringing my mammoth with the poop holder and Red Rocket and all this support, and now he's a 30-point model or 40. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Depending on the build that you're doing,
Oh
he's
yeah.
not going to get 40 points of work.
No, never.
Never. And it was crazy with the amount of support that people were bringing with these Gargantuans. Yawn. And like you were saying, their everything was underwhelming. Everything.
Mm-hmm.
I thought when I saw these Gargantuans, I was like, oh man, this is going to be crazy. They're going to be like Fury 8, Fury 9. It's going to be crazy. And then they show up and they're Fury 4 and Fury 5. I was like, oh, okay. Well, maybe they're going to have awesome animuses and it's going to be worth their points. Not really.
Nope.
Huh. Well,
I actually do not even know what the Mammoth Animus is.
It's
I don't.
counterblast.
Is it?
Yeah.
That's actually kind of decent.
It's decent, right? But it's
Yeah.
not 20 points decent.
No, I mean the Tariff has counterblast, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. And the Tariff has AD.
Oh man.
Uh, look out. Um, but, it was one of those things where you're sitting there and you're like, Matt 5. What?
Yeah,
He-
it's a bit of a
what?
conundrum, certainly.
I wouldn't have been surprised if they were Matt 8. Like, it's a huge fist coming down.
Yep.
It's supposed to go boom. And every single turn that they could have done, like you're gonna make the storm wall rat 6.
Yep.
What?
I mean, I don't want to sit here and say that the Gargantuans are just unplayable garbage tier, but each one probably feels like it's missing one or two rules, I think.
And that's what's hilarious is that they're still playable.
Mm-hmm.
So what makes me super excited is like I feel like it's almost going to be like a seesaw effect, where the new Colossals are going to be very underwhelming
Mm-hmm.
in comparison to the old ones, and the new Gargantuans are going to be like the first Colossals, where they tested the waters, and maybe the Colossals were a little too deep, and maybe the Gargantuans were a little too shallow. They'll flip flop, and now we'll see where we're headed.
Yeah, that
Um,
absolutely wouldn't surprise me at all.
exactly. So, what's the first Gargantuan you'd like to talk about?
So the first Gargantuan is the Glacier King.
How about that name?
It's fine. I think a lot of people were expecting Mountain Queen,
Would have been nice, right?
but I think we are pleasantly surprised.
Was there anything else you would have thought that you would have maybe gotten?
I mean, I certainly wasn't expecting an ice version, but I definitely thought we were going to see some form of the Mountain King. I follow the fluff quite a bit, and currently Doomshaper's mission is to find more Mountain Kings. And
How many do you guys have?
there are two, I believe, with Madrak. He's about to fight. He got teleported by Wormwood in the middle of a Pharaoh army and a Gatorman army.
Oh man.
Yeah. So it's two Mountain Kings, the Creel army, versus the entire Minions faction.
Oh, well, that should be like 10 pigs, right?
Yeah, about maybe 12.
Oh wait, I'm sorry, 12 pigs and 15 gators.
Yeah.
'Cause that's all a posse.
Yeah.
Okay.
Versus two Mountain Kings.
Yeah, so gators should win.
Yeah, probably. As long as Rask is there, I don't really see how they'll have an issue.
Ambushers! Oh god.
But yeah, so that's where we're on the fluff. The Glacier King, though, we know three of his rules so far.
Okay.
He has some kind of frozen ground ability that is his animus. It causes some kind of knockdown.
Mm-hmm.
I'm expecting something akin to either the IK RPG spell, which is if someone moves more than 2 inches in your control area, they're knocked down at the end of their movement.
You think it's gonna be the command area of the Glacier King?
I'm expecting like something to do with his reach range. I think it's going to be a cross between that and the Archangel Animus.
The one thing that I would not like to see is that.
Yeah.
So I would like to see either within 3 inches or within 5 inches of him.
Sure.
The 5 inches is obviously what we're grasping for straws.
Yeah.
But that's what I feel Gargantuan Animus should be like.
Mm-hmm.
It should have a distinct effect on the game, and not make him just kind of a support piece.
I think that's fair. So his next rule is Big Frosty Fist. Big Frosty Fist.
So that's 5 times fast.
Yeah. We do know that he is not Mat 5. That has been confirmed. So probably Mat 4.
Watch him come out and be like Matt 10.
Oh, that'd be sweet. With
It's
like,
just it's not even gonna matter.
he'll probably have. He'll probably have crit stationary, but honestly, with the auto knockdown on the Woldrath, like auto stationary is definitely not outside the realm of possibility.
Not at all. Again, it's always one of those weird things you try to be realistic with yourself. But you're
Mm-hmm.
paying 20 points for this model.
Yeah.
That's a lot. Like, you're making an investment.
Oh yeah. And then the last rule we're aware of is Wind Thrower.
Okay.
We don't really know what that is at all. The current Mountain King does have some kind of breath attack that he uses, so hopefully this is like some kind of either rate of fire 2 or just 2 spray 8s. I would really like something like that.
A big thing I'd like to see, and again, I'm always going to be more on the side of broken, is a push.
Okay.
I think it'd be really cool if you could like kind of like yell at him back, and maybe like a thunderbolt ability. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think that'd be really cool. Or like, if what I think would be really innovative and really cool would be like a push for enemies and a push for friendly.
Okay.
So like reliably, you don't really damage your own heavies
Mm-hmm.
because it's gonna. I mean, granted, if it's like the Mountain King, freaking pound, what was it, pound 16 spray?
Yeah, it's really high.
That'll probably do some damage, but it'd be really cool if you could extend the threat range of your heavies
Yeah.
to mitigate the lack of reach.
See, I just want like Virtuoso. So,
Fair enough. Fair enough. You're always gonna lowball it.
yeah, it's like, oh man. And the best troll models are the ones that have like as few rules as possible and just appropriately costed.
Well,
Just like when we're not paying for tough, we're really good.
Like Mulg, he's just there's no rules on the back of his card.
There's like 2.
There's like 17.
There are like 17. Sure.
And he's appropriately costed, right?
I think
Right?
so. You really think he's worth more than 12 points?
Yes.
Really?
Yes. With Doom Shaper, he's worth more
Sure.
than 12.
Sure.
I
All
would,
right.
really, I would only argue for like 13.
Okay. Would you argue 13 with Doom Shaper, 12 with everyone else?
If I would give him that flat affinity for everybody if he was 13 points.
All right. I think
Wouldn't
that's
that be
probably
cool?
more reasonable. Yeah.
Um,
I don't like it, but like I
First
could live
world
with it, I
troll
guess.
problems.
Yeah. Do you have any other thoughts on the Glacier King?
So they also said something about concealment.
Oh yeah, that's
Uh,
right. I completely
Wasn't really
forgot
sure
about
what the range on that's gonna be. So again, I'm pretty excited.
that.
Um, if anybody's gonna be able to run a big bulky piece with a lot of armor, it's gonna be trolls.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and not only that, Runes Award does not specify no gargantuans.
Correct.
So you can totally bring this dude with the walls, which
Mm-hmm.
is going to keep him alive even further. He's got baseline Pathfinder. You got Fortune to make him hit even more accurately. Purification to make like he can just be a big bully,
Mm-hmm.
and I really like that. And do I think it phases out any of the beasts? Maybe like the Mauler Axer.
Sure.
I mean, so now you got Mulg, Earthborn, and this Glacier King. Maybe you only bring 2 units of Rune Shapers, but you still got that full stone, and it gives you another bullet in the chamber.
Mm-hmm.
To maybe it's not just the quote unquote guaranteed list that everybody always brings.
Yeah.
I mean, things do work when you knock them down. I mean, those rock hammers auto hitting basically. That's a really big deal.
Oh yeah.
I'm going to put a power 14 here and a power 14 here, and oh, look, crit for no reason. And it's just crazy. Now, with that, I'm curious, obviously, what these point costs are going to be. Are they
Yeah.
going to keep it at the same level as the old ones were? We are also, just like Warmachine, we're going to start thinking about triple gargantuan lists. Because they're FA2.
Yeah, I'm really curious about the point cost and the FA of these models. Um, I really wish the original Colossals and Gargantuans were FA1. I think that's a bit of a mistake, and maybe even a bit of a money grab, honestly, on Privateer Press's part.
Exactly. You can only get so mad from a competitive standpoint for so
Hmm.
long until you realize that they are trying to make money.
Yeah,
Um, we're happy that they keep competitiveness in mind, but they came out with these really big models. They wanted them to be centerpieces, and they were just like, we haven't really been able to come out with a model that can make this much money before. Let's see what happens if people try to buy two.
sure.
So that if I'm ever going to get on a soapbox about anything, number one, I don't think Colossal should be allowed to 35 points or lower. And number two, I think they should be FA1 from day one.
Well, I'll tell you, I don't care at all about 35 points, so you can have whatever restrictions you want there.
That's
But
100% fair. It's just that there's never been a model more skewy
sure,
in the game since the Colossus.
just to drag us back to the
Uh,
Glacier King, real quick. Uh, just wanted to. The concealment is actually something that makes me really nervous about this model
why is
because
that?
it's always hard to tell how much value people put, not just players and Privateer Press, both parties, how much value they put on the ability to buff your models.
Hmm.
A +2 defense swing can be pretty skewy. Like once your models like start hitting like behind like over walls for melee, or you're adding in concealment or Earthburn Animus on water, +2 is really good and +4 is extremely good. But
Sure.
concealment is something that a lot of things ignore. You have Nis Hunters, you have gun mages, all these things that are ignoring concealment. And while it's nice, I'm just hoping that it's not something that drives up the point cost and also kind of like puts trolls in a spot where, well, you have this concealment on a stick for everyone, so all your models can be a little bit lower in defense. I think that's something that happened. Like in Mark 1, the Krillstone was +2 strength.
Mm, that's pretty crazy.
Yeah. So just something to keep in mind. While free defense bonuses are nice, they're not necessarily free.
Also, what I thought was really hilarious was, everybody complained about, how bad the Mountain King was,
Hmm.
and their counter argument was, we planned for this based on all the buffs you could give him, but the amount of points you're already investing into him, it reduces the number of things that you can support him with.
Hmm.
So that if Privateer Press ever makes a mistake, I feel like that's where it starts. Where, like you were saying, you never know what they're going to value each ability, how many points.
Yeah.
And yes, I completely agree with you on this might be actually closing some design space on trolls just due to the fact that, oopsie, you have this, so you can't have that.
Yeah, I think the Mauler is the perfect example of where something becomes slightly overvalued. Rage is
Hmm.
obviously fantastic, but I,
It's a big deal.
I don't think it would break the bank if the Mauler was 8 points instead of
Um,
9.
so my counter argument with that is that it just sucks that you do not have an 8-point heavy.
Sure.
Because, well, what's the Blitzer?
I believe he's 9 as well.
Like, that's pretty crazy.
Hmm.
I mean, I just think it's really funny when people, you know, people see the War Beasts and they're like, "Oh man, I think these things are so cool." And what factions run the beasts really well? And people, they look at the troll heavies and they're like, "Oh my god, these things look so awesome!" And they look like they're so intertwined with the faction, and,
Hmm.
and all of a sudden you find out it's like, well, we're kind of a beast faction, but not really. We're kind of a mixed arms faction.
Yeah.
If you want to go for beasts, you should probably go for anybody else,
Yeah, probably Legion
or Scorn,
or Scorn.
or Circle. Because, I don't know, Herp, Derp, Stalker, Gorax is half your army.
Seems pretty good.
But
Speaking of Circle, We have
Uh-huh.
the Storm Raptor.
Oh, look at it. Look at that
Yep.
pro
Oh.
segue.
Can you tell I've done this before?
I know, right? Professional. So we got the big bird, right?
Yeah, speed 7. That is really high.
You know what that tells me? It still can't land anywhere.
It still cannot.
I feel like all of the huge base models, gargantuan or colossals, should come with a rec marker, just so we can say, I'm gonna move here. Let's see if that's possible.
Sure.
Um,
No, it makes complete sense.
the number of times that you're just like, there's no way. There's no way. And oh man. I don't know. Keep going.
So we have speed 7. Obviously, the Storm Raptor has flight.
Oh, crazy. Shocking. Get it? Anyways.
It has superconduction and Skyfire.
Skyfire!
Yeah, anything with 2 syllables fits perfectly there.
Pretty much.
So, superconduction. We have super amazing electricity synergies with Pete Kruger.
And nothing else.
Nothing else. I don't, like... I mean, it's going to be great to give this thing reach.
So... Sorry, that took me off guard. So, here's my biggest thing, is that, like, they haven't even been building up to this.
Yeah.
To me, of all the new gargantuans, this is the most, like, what the fuck am I supposed to do with this?
Where did this come from?
So it's like, if maybe all the wolves were lightning,
Right.
like, okay, the world shrimp, they're lightning. I can do, like, Zephyr aim, they get +2 rat, and +2 damage on their attacks. That's awesome. This is cool. The synergies. But then it's like, well, what the fuck do I have lightning? Like...
Are you ready for, like, Woldrath Storm Raptor? Is that
Right?
possible? Can anyone play that?
I guess. They're
Nah.
gonna have to.
I don't think so. No one's a +7 in Circle, right? Nah, that's way too high. Yeah,
I mean,
that works.
they can play it. It's just gonna have, like, nothing else.
I guess. I mean, maybe we could be seeing... First of all, I'm surprised that it's a giant bird with electricity.
I think it was just... Honestly, what I wanted to see was, like, a big fucking bear.
Yeah?
This would have been cool.
I guess.
Like, it doesn't need to be, like, the great lunar wolf. Like, there are other fucking animals in the forest.
There are.
That's always bothered me.
It's like the Riphorn, right? It's like... The fluff for them is that, like, Circle has just been watching these forever. But they're just better than ferals. Like, they're just better, but Circle just didn't feel like using them.
Well, are the satyrs, like, actual just animals, or it's the same as the ferals, where, like, people drink potions and turn into it?
They're just animals.
Exactly. So, of course they're going to be better. They got that instinct of chain attack, grab, and smash.
But do you think they'll be able to place this? Like, I see a lot of Circle players saying that, like, this is why Stone's got nerfed.
I don't think this is why. I think it's because that faction was broken as balls.
I mean, that's not this episode. So. Maybe next time.
That's a problem for later. At the end of the day, this is a game of placement, and being able to ignore a lot of the placements was a really big deal.
Sure.
So, once again, as I said before, just moving it around is going to be difficult.
Yeah.
What I found with the huge bases in general is that what makes the Circle Battle Engine good when it's good? Realistically, all of these things, all these huge bases, they walk up and they consistently, almost every single game, need to deal with the front line of models.
Yep.
They never get to that gooey center. They never do. They just can't get there. That's not the way this game is played. Models are too far spread out. People are bringing way too many models nowadays with, like, Fist, Runes of War. You got all this shit in the way. And that's not even touching Warmachine, where people, it's like, bring 50 models or go fucking home. At least in the Northeast. Um, so, moving forward, what made the Circle Battle Engine good? It's the fact that it had so many shots.
Oh, yeah.
They just walk up and blah, 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 blah. So being placed, I don't really think it was even, you still gotta place that huge fucking base. So if you can do that within 7 inches, good luck.
Yeah.
Granted, it's like 12 because of the huge base, but that's still borderline impossible,
Yeah,
let alone to make it effective.
We're probably looking at, like, if you could place this thing, that's like 15 inches of threat range.
Yeah.
Which is pretty crazy. And then you also have to probably give it the rule that, like, you can only place it with stones, so, like, you couldn't TK or Warpath it, because now we're just, like, getting nuts.
Well, I mean, the fact of the matter is that the flat colossal rule was that they couldn't move out of activation.
Mm-hmm.
So, Warpath is already off the table.
Yeah.
I don't really see an issue with TK, because once again, you're paying 20 points for these things.
Sure.
Why can't I, that's the number one thing they do with Colossal, that they didn't do with Colossals, but they did with Gargantuans. Every single Gargantuan has some sort of scornergy that goes, against what the faction wants to do.
Mm-hmm.
So, the Mountain King, he wants to walk up and he wants to do power attacks. And that's kind of like, I could have done that with my 9-point heavy.
Yeah.
Not with this 20-point fucking piece of shit. For that purpose, it's a piece of shit. Now, if he wants to walk up and be a bully and snack and shed annoying whelps that contest zones and, do everything but power attacks and be fury efficient, that's awesome. Those are synergies. But, the World Wrath, you're going to make him Sacred Ward?
Mm-hmm.
What?
Just affected by nothing.
You just cut out all possible synergies. Why did I bring him? Because he's cool. Because he's a big base. That was one of the only reasons Pagani brought him in the World Wrath list. It had a good gun, and it was a huge base that Morvana could hide behind.
Sure.
The Mammoth, he's extremely inaccurate. So you bring this big gun platform to miss a lot. Granted, they're AoEs, they're going to scatter, but what? Okay.
He's only like Rat 4.
Yeah, it's pathetic. And then you get the Archangel, and he's only range 10. I have a Ravagore that's range 14. You literally priced the Archangel the exact number of points for 2 Ravagores. You're crazy. You're crazy.
I definitely think Privateer Press is going to be looking to create more synergies.
Exactly.
This thing being so it's living, so we get all the boons from that Circle gets. We get like the peak Kaya, the epic Kaya synergies.
Yeah.
We get, now that you have this living model, you can place it in more lists where it's going to be effective. So you're going to have easier access to Hunter's Mark.
Sure.
Anything like that. Dogpile, obviously.
Mm-hmm. I mean, the obvious Primal.
Yeah, Primal is huge, although I'd be very wary about... You pretty much have to win the game if you're primaling 20 points.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
You know what would be sick on this thing? Bird's Eye. Although, actually, that means it pretty much can never make free strikes, so never mind.
You turn into the Hyperion.
Yeah.
I totally agree, and I feel like that's the point I was trying to make, is that I feel like, once again, they're going to do a 180 and try and make a lot of synergies for these Gargantuans.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm going to wait till he comes up. But that's why a certain model people are so excited for. But with the Stormstrider, the things I'm excited about is that it's probably going to have Electroleap on its weapons.
Yeah. I think that's
which
awesome.
is going to be, it's still going to be an infantry clearing machine, and you can still have a Gorax and a Stalker in the back to clear out heavies.
Mm-hmm.
So that's all I got to say about the Stormstrider.
Yeah, Electrolube on fists would definitely be really awesome.
right?
The ability to punch a heavy and then still get work done killing infantry at the same time is great. And I think it's it's a little undervalued on the storm roll. I actually don't see it come into play very often.
Because temporal acceleration is a lot better choice.
It's fair.
Um, but uh, but I mean, like, you go in on a gladiator,
Hmm.
whatever. You're killing the whip behind it. That's pretty good.
It's huge.
I mean, you do that twice to take a command check. Like, that's not great for them.
Hmm.
Like, you're just flat affecting the game because you exist, not because you've done anything. But yeah, it's a pretty big deal.
Yeah. So when you said you were excited for a model, did you mean the Blightbringer?
Oh God, no.
Wow. Oh man.
So I'm sitting there. I see that the video comes out for
Hmm.
the new Gargantuans, and I'm watching it, and I'm like, ah, Glacier King. That looks kind of cool. The old Mauler pose. Like, that's one of the
Yeah.
reasons why I started playing Trolls. Like, that's cool. Oh man, he's gonna have an auto knockdown. That's gonna help out the faction a lot. Like, you guys don't have too many mat fixers
Sure.
unless it's like that's what the caster does,
Yeah.
and usually he suffers in something else. So now you got a bit of a fixer in an own model. So that's really cool. Oh, a big bird. That's different. It's like a speed 7. Oh man, they're gonna be like Angelius's. Like that was the big complaint is that an Angelius outthreats a Stalker. Well, not anymore. Um, and they're like, oh, Legion. I'm like, oh man, they're gonna make like a cooler dragon. And what the fuck is that? We gotta know Beast Bug. Fuck my life.
I actually really like the model.
He's gonna be amazing, and it's gonna piss me off because I'm gonna spend like $200. Ah,
I don't know, I think he looks pretty cool. He's got like the whole nightmare thing going on. Like clearly Everblight is something that is completely alien to like the human
yeah,
mind, and I
yeah.
think that's really interesting.
Um, all I saw when I looked at him is that he's gonna be like $120, $130,
Sure.
and then I'm gonna need to buy $70 worth of stuff that he's gonna shit out of his mouth. I already see they said that he's not gonna like a lot of the. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Let's talk about him.
All right. So we've got the Blighted Breath first up.
Hmm.
Uh, this provides a lot of extra rules, such as Spiritual Corruption and Dragon's Breath,
Hmm.
along with Withering Ash. Uh,
Okay.
so Spiritual Corruption is a no spells aura,
Which is
which,
amazing.
yeah, I think that's really cool. The book is fantastic, as
Yep.
in the Covenant Menoth,
Hmm.
and putting a no spell aura that you don't have to pay an animus for on a model that you can potentially play aggressively
Yeah,
is really exciting, I think.
I agree.
The Withering Ash, I think, is cool. It's kind of a debuff and a buff at the same time, if it's anything like Ashenvale, which is kind of the feeling I got from it.
Hmm.
Uh, and then Dragon's Breath. I don't know what that is. Do you know what that is?
So just based on the name, it's probably just gonna be like a big fire spray.
Sure.
Um, but so as they stated in the video, he's not gonna be like a melee powerhouse.
Hmm.
He's gonna be just more augmenting the table,
Okay.
which I'm totally for.
Yeah.
I can see him being like a spawning vessel that just works every turn. So kind of like the Sepulcher. Maybe I'm not sure. It's just from that art that they showed us. I can see him creating blight wasps.
Sure.
I can see him, minting points, which I think is going to be his saving grace. So he's going to be 20 points, let's say. But it's kind of like that spawning vessel cost,
Hmm.
where it's 3 points, but you get 3 lessers out of it, so it's really negative 3 points.
Yeah.
Whereas he's going to be 20 points, but by the end of the game, he was really only 14 points. So if my wild speculation is correct, then that's when I get excited about this guy. Um, the number of times that things like druids have just run amok on me. Now, granted, I don't care about their clouds, but I still need 9s to hit them.
Yep.
And almost all of my guns that typical legionless take are fire.
Yep.
So there's like herp derp elemental communion, and especially with ADR coming up, when it becomes relevant, Legion is a great drop for druids. You know, no magic, elemental communion, suck a fat one.
Absolutely.
So
Druids,
I feel like I'm sorry, go ahead.
Druids might be like one of the best ADR units.
Exactly. And it's a nice little module you can pop in. When I see this guy, my initial reaction is like boo hiss, like we got the short end of the stick. And then when you start to really think about it, once I'm gonna be very just kind of on the fence until I see his rules. Once I see his rules and I see that maybe he's worth his points, I feel like the Archangel fell really short.
Mm-hmm.
He has his uses, but they're very few and far between.
Yeah.
If he was 19 points, no joke, I think you would see a lot more of him. There's just the flat Archangel. But it's the fact that he has 20 points, which is at the very least 2 of our heavies, 2 of our more expensive heavies.
Mm-hmm.
That footprint that he creates is just too small. He does not affect the game enough, especially with that crappy Draconic Aura Animus. He doesn't bring anything to the table that we couldn't already bring. Typically, a Gargantuan will be 2 of your heavies smashed together with life boxes.
Sure.
And with the Archangel having the fewest, that hurt us even more. So, at the end of the day, if he becomes a support Gargantuan, I think that's going to be really cool. But I gotta wait and see for his rules.
Yeah, I think he definitely has a lot of potential. 20 points to support, you think would do a lot.
Mainly due to the fact that our support is already super cheap.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if it's Shepherd him, I don't know. Maybe he'll turn on lights. You know what I mean? So maybe I don't need to bring a Scythian. Maybe I can bring a soldier.
Yeah.
And there's 3 free points. That's just getting put into his cost. So who knows? He's I think the wild card.
Yeah, I definitely think so.
He's kind of like Helios.
I probably rank Archangel as the worst Gargantuan.
Sure.
So
Sure.
I think they have the most room for improvement, and I'm really
Exactly.
excited to see what they do.
Of course, you know, we got to be realistic. You can't give Legion a melee powerhouse.
Yeah.
You can't. We have Ice Cage, we have Harm, we have Forced Evo, we have just Draconic Strength, like all these buffs that just make him the nuts.
Yeah, you can +4 or +5 power swings with a lot of casters.
Exactly. That's not okay. You can't give him a great gun because we have Epic Lilith.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so I understand why the Archangel is who he is, but I don't understand why you couldn't give me a Ravagore gun.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Just one Ravagore gun probably would have made a lot of difference on that model.
Yep, just range 10 is mopey.
And with the Warlock having to cast the Ravagore Animus, I think that's a big deal.
Mm-hmm. The Ravagore Animus is stealth. I'm sorry, not stealth. Self.
Yeah.
So you couldn't even.
Oh, it is stealth?
Yeah, it's stealth.
Oh man.
I might be retarded, but we might double check that.
I really thought that Animus was range 6.
It might be. I don't know. I only put it on Ravagores. Yeah. So I agree that is the one that has the most room for improvement.
Mm-hmm.
Just as a faction, really. Just to get him something away from just playing heavies all day, every day.
Yeah.
But if we have some time later, we can talk some List Dojo.
Yeah.
So, who's the next one?
So, last but not least, I think we have the most interesting one. The Desert Hydra.
Desert Hydra! So, I think the reason why, as I tried to state before, why people are so freaking excited about this guy is that exact reason of the Gargantuans need to deal with the front line.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he does it amazingly.
Absolutely.
5 sprays.
Yeah, it's not just 5 sprays. It's the multiple heads rule
Yep.
that really is the
Oh,
kicker.
what was that you were saying before? Virtuoso?
Yeah, right?
What was that? It's crazy.
Oh, I want Virtuoso, but Scorn gets multiple heads. So for anyone that doesn't know, the multiple head rule is you're capped at a number of initials, in this case 5, and so you get to interchange them however you want. They can be ranged or melee attacks, and it usually comes with Gunfighter. In the case of Typhon, of course, they have Gargantuans have a quasi Gunfighter built in, but I expect him to have some kind of true Gunfighter or Virtuoso, so that he's not necessarily tied down.
He'll probably have Gunfighter.
Yeah.
Just a flat rule.
So this guy terrified the bejesus out of me at first.
Why is that?
Because he has 5 sprays. And the first time you see the video, Privateer Press only makes sprays in one size, which is 10 inches. So, of course, I see them putting down 5 10-inch sprays. I'm like, oh my god. All the infantry, gone, done, game over. But they are only spray 6, which feels a little mopey.
Yeah.
I think. But probably still decent. Spray 8, I think. I mean, obviously we don't have the rat or the POW of these sprays yet. So we can't go crazy. Maybe like spray 6 might be justifiable.
Sure.
Black
I
spot
mean, if they're
though.
POW 16 sprays.
Yeah, if they're up, like if they're POW 15, 16, and he's sitting at like rat 5 or 6, he's gonna be doing pretty good. And I would definitely not complain about spray 6. So
it's just go ahead.
So
a black spot.
Black spot's gonna be crazy. The Scorn kind of fell into a bit of a trap, I think, with their previous Gargantuan, in that they try to pack a lot of tools that necessarily might not need. And it's funny because the Desert Hydra actually pretty much just sheds all of those. So it has sprays, so you don't need the Extoller Soul Ward as much. Like, still obviously useful because magical weapons is amazing.
Mm-hmm.
But you can't snipe him, so that's already 6 points gone from the Raider.
Yep.
And that really eliminates most of the support they used. Obviously, you're going to have the whips in every list. Did I say whist?
Yeah, Willow Wisp is fine.
All right, you're going to have the whips in every list. So that's kind of a wash. Mm-hmm. And most Scorn Warlocks, I think, are going to be able to turn this guy on. The ability for Makeda to... You don't get Leash, but you do get Road to War, so +2 movement, plus charge, plus spray lets you dig extremely deep.
But, like, you start to think even crazier, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, Scorn ADR.
Oh, yeah.
You could swap thing out, and that, I don't feel... You have to build a list around a Mammoth. Mm-hmm. I don't feel you have to build a list around this guy.
Yeah, this guy definitely seems like he's going to be... He definitely seems like he's going to be extremely versatile.
Mm-hmm.
Scorn has tons of mat and POW fixing, free charges.
Yeah. And then, what do you call it? It's just crazy. It's all wrapped up in a nice little package.
Mm-hmm.
And it's one of those, if you can get two guys to spray, like, that's a unit off the table every turn.
Mm-hmm.
That's where you get crazy.
Yeah.
Like,
two guys a spray is not even, like, that hard.
Even spray 6.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he can walk up to the guy base to base and be like, guess I want that angle. And the way that the heads were looking, it's looking like he's going to get 360 line of sight, too.
Oh, yeah. Each one is pointing in a different direction. You've got one going behind.
Oh my god.
This is probably actually just the coolest model that Privateer Press has made to date.
Hmm.
Like, I really, like, as far as the huge bases are concerned, obviously you have some really good-looking, like, small, medium-base models, but this guy, I think Privateer Press is really flexing their muscles and showing what they can do.
I feel like they're flexing their muscles with the gargantuans.
Yeah, absolutely.
The Archangel is gorgeous.
Hmm.
The Mountain King is still probably my favorite model. Like, he is just... They openly said when Colossus came out, even before Gargantuans, that they wanted these to be centerpieces.
Yep.
And I feel like a lot of the Colossals kind of shit the bed
Hmm.
with the way they look.
Sure.
In no way, shape, or form am I saying they look bad. I'm just saying that the Gargantuans grab your attention so much more.
Yeah.
And they embody the game, I feel, so much more than the Colossals do. And I feel like these new Colossals are only going to do it even more.
Hmm.
You know, people get drawn to the game still to this day to that classic Mauler pose.
Yep.
And now you have it on a huge base that people always, like, I don't know what it is. It must be because they spend so much money on the model, but people spend so much more extra time on their Gargantuans when they paint them that they almost always come out gorgeous.
I
And,
think a lot of it is just the quality of the Gargantuan sculpts are far,
fact.
far and away just honestly some of the best miniatures that I have seen on the market.
And I mean, I truly believe that, some of these Gargantuans, rival a lot of other games.
Hmm.
Even their gigantic, huge base. Typically, what I find when a model gets really large is that it gets really busy.
Hmm.
Like, there's a lot of stuff going on. And with these Gargantuans, they're such a solid model that even if there are a lot of aspects to it, it never draws away from the whole picture. Which, it's just, I, I don't know how to explain it. It's just like that epic scene of a movie when, King Kong's on top of the building and he's banging his chest. And like that is the moment that defines King Kong.
Hmm.
I feel like all the Gargantuans, they're in that moment.
Yeah. Well, dude, look at in the video at Monodraza, like up on that wall, staring the Hydra in the face.
Exactly.
How, like, that's so freaking sweet.
Exactly. And I feel like all of those models are in that moment.
Hmm.
That's why they're posed that way. And that's where I feel that some of the Colossals kind of fall flat
Yeah.
because they're in a static pose.
Hmm. They're all just kind of like lumbering forward.
Like, the Stormwall looks like he's standing there. The Hyperion and the Conquest, at least they're kind of moving, but like, I expected some of their models to be actually firing their guns.
Hmm.
Like, you look at the Stormwall art, he is going ape shit.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
He's just crushing everything in front of him.
everything
He's
is
punching
getting
the
shot.
ground. Electroleap is coming off of that. He's shooting his big cannon.
You know?
The slags are all going off.
It's crazy. And then you look at the model and you're like, that's still cool, but it's nowhere near what the art did for it. And, that's not in any way, shape, or form a knock at the sculptor. He achieved what the model is supposed to look like. And there's only so far you can get in the artsy-fartsy department of a model.
Yeah.
But it's just, that's what always drew me back to Hordes. Was just, all in all, I feel like it's more fun to paint the models. But that's getting off of what we were actually talking about.
Mm.
So, what I'm curious about is what the Hydra's animus is going to be.
I'm kind of expecting the Typhon Animus.
Right?
Hypergeneration. There's the Pendrake book. They actually fight a Desert Hydra.
Oh, they do?
And as they deal it damage, it heals.
Of course. It's Hydra.
Yeah.
What I'd like to see is a D6 heal.
Sure.
I think that would be crazy.
Yeah. I something that is tanky, can absorb gunfire in a similar way that the Mountain King and that all the Colossals can as well due to like the easy access of repair.
Yeah, totally. What I think is absolutely hilarious is the evolution that Scorn has gone through.
Mm-hmm.
We've gotten to a point now where you're going to have literally, like, people always joke around about, like, 40K, where the new codex comes out and that's the new hotness.
Yeah.
And that's what you should play. But we're going to see such an evolution of Scorn from, bringing Bronzebacks and Mullet Karn to a bunch of bugs and a Desert Hydra.
It's funny you say that, actually, because the next book is called Evolved.
Right?
Like, that was the title of the trailer, Gargantuan's Evolved, 2015.
I mean, it's crazy. I mean, we haven't seen that much of a faction shift in a long time.
Yeah, I think, like, if you said even 2 years ago, Scorn's going to have a solid range game, I think a lot of people would laugh.
Yeah, right?
But now they have Incendiary, the Mammoth is decent, the new Bug is going to be crazy.
Bugs are crazy. And just moving forward, where else are they going to take this?
Mm-hmm.
The Keltari are legit.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they're def a billion against shooting, and that was one thing that Scorn struggled with. I just think Privateer Press is doing a great job trying to give everyone the options to play whatever they want. And everything's got its own flavor. So, not everybody has gun mages. I never want to see this game get super vanilla, where everybody's got a Lancer.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Because that's going to be dumb. But it's a really exciting time to be playing this game. With all this new stuff coming out.
I am actually super pumped about going to Gen Con this year because I'm really hoping that the 10-year Hordes box is going to be out there.
So I got to ask, because you're such a big Troll player, how did you feel when you saw Chromac with the axe?
It felt like I got punched in the gut. In my mind, you cannot tell me anything to dissuade me from the fact that, like, I think Madrak's dead.
Right?
Like, I really feel like they decided to go in and, like, they're killing a character.
That's such a big deal.
Like, the entire story of Rathrock, the only way to get rid of it is to die.
Yep.
And so that's a dead chieftain. Like,
you want to add
chieftain.
Exactly. You want to add insult to injury? I mean, Chromac already fucked up Borka.
Mm-hmm.
Like, close to death.
Yep.
Like, ooh, not looking too good.
And then Rock ate his arm. Like,
yep.
Come on.
I mean, that's some scary shit,
It's terrifying. And this is supposed to be the end of the world, too. Like, Wormwood promises Chromac the axe so that he can end the world.
I don't understand how that's possible.
I have no idea. What we do know that Wormwood is gathering tons of souls. And we also know that while Doomshaper and Madrak were traveling to collect the Mountain Kings, Circle was there preparing to take control of them.
To take control of the Mountain Kings?
Yeah, so the Mountain Kings are kind of a offspring of Dunia and the Orboros.
Uh-huh.
So because they're a child of Orboros, they can theoretically be controlled by Circle warlocks.
Damn.
Yeah. So Circle is currently just collecting souls and preparing for a giant ritual.
Holy shit.
Yeah, which is why Orboros and Wormwood teleported Madrak and his army into the middle of the Gator and Pharaoh armies.
So they just want to make them weaker, or they just want more souls?
They just want all the souls.
Oh, wow.
All the souls forever.
Huh.
Yep.
That's pretty crazy.
Yeah, and that also ties into Wormwood being able to collect all the souls in his command area, which I think is pretty nifty.
Yeah. So, you know what that makes sense? A big motherfucking bird for no reason?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm sure it'll be really cool, but
I'm sure it's going to be great. It makes no sense.
The Storm Raptor did kind of come out of left field.
I was
so
like, what?
do you want to discuss the rest of the stills that we have
Yeah, go ahead.
at the end of the video?
Sure.
So after the 10-year Hordes anniversary box gets shown, we obviously have a ton of still images that get flashed through the video. And number one, we have a gator who has some candles, skulls, voodoo stuff on him, and his jaw is like roped shut.
His eye is like a gem too, right?
Yeah, it looks kind of like a gem. I'm kind of feeling the epic Maylock here. I don't know if that's the vibe you got too.
What I'm hoping for, because the way that they kind of zoomed in on the picture, I'm hoping for Dracodile.
Okay.
It's not going to happen.
No.
But I want them to have it. So just for some reason for them not to bring 3 posses. But anyways, that's a personal thing. I agree. It might be Epic Barnabas.
I can see that. Like he just embraces the swamp magic more in a more.
He's finally ascended to goddom.
That'd be cool too.
Right?
That'd be pretty sweet. Maybe that's the culmination of him trying to kill as many people as possible, and he does it with the trolls and the Pharaoh.
Exactly. I mean, I feel it's a really weird time, I feel, in the storyline, because I feel like we, not to get dirty or anything, I feel like we've hit a climax for so long that something's got to happen.
Oh, you mean we've been building up to a climax?
Yeah. Like, it's just, okay, like, you know, you can only amass armies for so long, you know, and you know, we're kind of like in Season 2 of Dragon Ball Z.
Okay.
Like, you know, Goku could get to Super Saiyan, maybe Super Saiyan 2, but, like, what
Who's he gonna
fuck's
fight?
with the Super Saiyan level 4? Like, we're just getting to a point where it's like, I don't know where they can go with this.
So, next up, we have what appears to be a new RuneShaper unit.
Yep. Looks pretty crazy.
Yeah, I'm hoping that these are like a better version. I don't want to say better version, but what I hope they are what I wanted the Fire Eaters to be. Oh,
So you want rune shapers of every element?
Yeah, I think that'd be sick.
Be kind of cool.
Right? Like, I really, when I saw a 3-man unit for Fire Eaters, and they're all medium-based guys and all that jazz, I'm like, all right, Fire Rune Shapers, this is going to be awesome. We're going to throw, like, immolations out. We're going to be, like, lighting everyone around us on fire. It's going to be sweet. And then, while we get a unit that's good, they're just flavorful. They're not, flavor-wise, they're not what I wanted.
Nope.
And then...
what I see when I look at them, sadly, I do see support.
Yeah.
So I think they're going to be like rune healers, less rune shapers. So they're going to be like just doing a lot of supportive things, which I feel they, of all of the things that we saw, I think they're the ones that it's more of a wild card.
Sure.
Because, you know, they may come out and they may be, you know, Frost Reavers. Who knows?
Yeah,
But,
you don't really see what element, if any, they're wielding.
Exactly. They may be fucking Trollkin medics. Like,
They could. That'd be sweet if it was like a 3-man Shepherd unit. I'd probably play that.
You would? Surprising.
Yeah, I would play the bejesus out of that. So next up, we have what appear to be some gremlin type dudes.
Mm,
Gremlin
I have
scours.
I have no idea what's going on with that.
Yeah, they've been showing a lot of this stuff recently. We have the Gobber Pirates as well,
Uh-huh.
and these guys appear to be dragging some kind of warjack parts around.
So that one, I'm gonna say I don't know what's going on with that.
Yeah,
Would you have any speculation?
none at all, except that it'll probably be another Merc release in the minion book.
Hey, want something you can't play? Ba-boom.
All right, I don't understand how the minion book has so many models that they cannot play.
Yep.
It makes
That
zero
are
sense.
good.
Yeah. Like, Dolly and Scarith, these would probably be... no, I bet minion players could, like, do some work with those models.
Totally. Better than a fucking spitter.
Yeah. And we have what appears to be a Gargoyle UA,
Hmm.
perhaps?
Yep. People are talking about the Grotesques UA.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be a really big deal
Yeah.
because Grotesques are seen as one of the worst units in the game. Um, it's kind of where a lot of Legion players start whenever they argue that our infantry is apparently crap. And I disagree. But they always jump to Grotesques, and I'm like, well, they're not great, but they have gang.
Damn my shitty Weapon Master infantry that turned into lesser war beasts. Ugh, these are the worst.
Just the worst,
The
right?
worst. Unplayable garbage.
So the biggest problem with them is that it's just a small command area.
Mm-hmm.
So they're begging to be AoE just dropped.
Yeah, they're like 7, right?
It's like a 6.
Oof,
It's really, really bad.
that's low.
So the UA, I think, I don't even care if it really does anything other than be like Command 10
Mm-hmm.
and then just call it a day. I
Sure.
think they're already fearless, so
Yeah,
it
I
doesn't
believe
matter. But like that in itself would be huge.
Are there any rules you'd like to see attached to them?
I mean, if we're if I could have anything, just Power Swell.
Yeah.
Just kind of slap that on there.
Sure.
Kind of cool. Probably
I
buy
mean-
Grotesques then.
Any rules that don't turn you into weapon masters? Maybe a little more reasonable.
What I think would be really cool is acrobatics for a turn.
Don't they have,
Um,
like, is
they
that
have
any
flight.
different than flight? Like, I mean, parry would essentially do the same thing, right?
That's what I meant. Sorry.
Okay, sure.
Immune to free strikes.
All right.
I think that'd be really cool for them to be like that really annoying jam unit.
Mm-hmm.
They kind of like a couple of them swoop in for like 3 of them. They kill some stuff, collect the corpses for the pot, spawning vessel, and then the next turn like the rest of them can mini feet and just get into really annoying places.
So, I think something that would be really cool is if you could play on, like, the mutation ability. So, you have, like, a couple options for mini feats. And you pick one, and that's the only one you get when you activate it, like, for the rest of the
Okay.
game. So, like, kind of like the way Prime Absolonia works.
Yeah,
Like, so, like, maybe parry could be an option in the form of, like, backspines, or something like reach, mini feed for, like, +2 speed, something like that. I think that would be interesting.
sure.
And,
I mean that would make them in the question, right?
hmm
Like, oh look, we finally have, because a lot of people feel like all of our infantry is very bottlenecked
hmm
into one job,
Yeah,
and we really don't have that like Winter Guard-esque unit.
yeah. Each unit kind of has its own roles. Your Legionnaires tarp it and die. Your Swordsmen do work. Hex Hunters.
Raptors,
work.
Raptor
Yep.
Striders, anything like, they all do specific things.
hmm
So I agree, it'd be kind of cool to see like a toolboxy unit.
Yeah, I think that's just something like kind of new and like unique that I think could be cool to bring to a faction that really prides itself on its morphing abilities.
Hmm. You really don't see it used that often.
Yeah.
I was surprised that the Warp Wolves got that sort of ability than the Legion Beast didn't.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but it's regardless. Um, so did we have any other images?
Oh yeah. So after that, we have a kind of looks like Calandra. It's a troll blood in like the Assyria pose. This is a
Mm-hmm.
female troll blood in the Assyria pose is I think the best way to describe it. I don't
Yep.
think it's Epic Calandra actually.
Do you think it's a whole new caster altogether?
I think it's either a new caster or a support solo.
I think it's Madrak's daughter.
I don't think Madrak has a daughter.
I don't know. They're fucking trolls. I don't even know if they fuck each other.
They do. That's actually like the whole point of like Borgo's existence as a shaman.
Just to fuck people?
Yeah, actually, it's in his fluff. Like
What?
Boomhowler, like
Oh, man.
a bunch of his company are like kids. They like
Oh,
come back and
man.
find him. Yeah.
Wow. All right.
Yep. So we have this cool looking Scorn dude.
Mm-hmm.
He looks like he could be made out of rocks.
Yeah, man, it's one of those things like this. This is where people, including myself, just get really excited because you have no fucking clue what these things
Yeah,
can do.
it's just like Scorn dude in Scorn armor. Like this could be
Mm-hmm.
anything. In the most recent Hordes book, they did find a new mine in Ios that will allow them to make more Ancestral Guardians.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So I think an Ancestral Guardian Warlock would be really awesome.
Oh, what?
Like, you could throw some, like, really cool rules on there.
That'd be insane. I think it'd be kind of cool to finally see one of my biggest complaints I would say about Hordes casters is that I understand that transfers are a thing,
Mm-hmm.
but there are so few warlocks with just high armor,
Sure.
just at all out there. And an Ancestral Guardian warlock, like starting at arm like 20,
Mm-hmm.
that would just be so cool.
Yeah.
Like make him def 12. I don't care.
That might be kind of bad.
Who cares? I want like just a bulky. I don't know. There's no
Sure.
tanks.
Yeah, even, like, the tanky Warlocks, like Xerxes and Epic Thagrosh, aren't, like, super tanks in the way that, like, Pete Butcher can be.
Or Terminus.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what else you got?
Let's see. Obviously, the last image is
The big
Cro-Mag
motherfucker.
with Wrathrock.
So, can I just go on record saying that Cro-Mag looks so stupid in that picture?
Yeah.
Why is his like red mane so gigantic?
I think it's because he's in beast form.
I
Like,
agree.
I mean, obviously he is in beast form, but
I understand. It was just like that looks so crazily like just dumb.
yeah,
His mane is the size of his body.
yeah, and his arms kind of coming out in like a kind of like funky position.
It's a gorgeous picture.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's just it's obviously really pretty and well done. And obviously, he doesn't matter in the picture. All you need to see is the axe.
Yeah, that's how you know something is going to go down next book.
Exactly. Like
it's
if
gonna be a
anything
big one.
else is going to prove that, yeah.
This really feels like the culmination of like everything Hordes has been working towards.
Exactly.
As far as like story-wise since the beginning.
Yeah. I agree 100%. I don't know. It's really exciting. It's just one of those like, again, wild speculation. You sit there and you're like, well, maybe Madrak like overcame the axe.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe he had the willpower to finally drop it.
Yeah.
And it's a coin flip. You don't know.
Mm-hmm.
he may be the strongest troll ever, willpower wise, or he's just dead.
Yeah, people have been clamoring for years. We want a dead Warcaster so
Why?
badly. I don't know why people want it, but people really want someone to die.
Like I said before, if I need to make a case for it, I feel like I said before, everyone's just Super Saiyan level 4.
Sure.
Like, you can't, there has to be a point where you stop leveling up.
Hmm.
Like, what happens when Haley 3 is just like a mega time master?
Yep.
Like,
I mean, you have stuff where like Haley, or not Haley, I'm sorry, Denegra is like about to die, but she's like, oh, I can go in corporal, and I'm just gonna run through this wall, and now I'm gone.
yep.
And that's kind of how like every fight in the story ends. Although, I do think that's been changing a bit.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, I think they're finding ways of making like victories and losses a little more interesting than beyond, oh, this one Warcaster got in a fight with another one, and it was a tie.
It's like bad comic books.
Yeah.
Oh, man. That's funny. Um, but yeah, all in all, what were your thoughts on all these releases?
I think the main thing to take away is that if you feel your Gargantuan is mediocre, Privateer Press doesn't owe you anything.
What do you mean?
So, obviously, I'm expecting all of these releases to be pretty decent.
Yeah.
All of them are at least going to be as good, if not better, than the previous Gargantuans, I think. I think that's pretty safe to say.
Yeah, I'd agree.
I'd be hard-pressed to believe that the Glacier King is not going to be, on most levels, better than the Mountain King. But just because, like, the Mountain King is considered one of the worst Gargantuans doesn't mean that he has to be the best this time.
I agree. If there's anything that I feel we can take away from the entirety of the video, I feel like Privateer Press is continuing to try to shake it up.
Mm-hmm.
Just with the flat, none of the Gargantuans seem to do the same thing.
Yeah.
Is a big deal. Like, I felt the first round of Gargantuans, they do similar stuff. They all have one gun. They all have two initials that are like around pound 19.
Mm-hmm.
They all have similar fury stats. And all their animuses suck.
Yeah. That is definitely true.
So I feel like none of these new Gargantuans really share the same design space.
Mm-hmm.
They all have that little cliche thing that they do. I'm sorry, not a cliche, little niche thing they do.
Yep.
And that makes them cool.
Yeah. This time around, each Gargantuan looks really unique from the one next to it. None of them are just humanoid anymore. Or
Exactly.
you have a bird. You still have your Mountain King, but then you have your Hydra. Everything is very different, which I think is great.
That Blightbringer doesn't look like anything else I have.
Nope.
So,
And,
it's just those unique looks.
Mm-hmm. I enjoy the continuation of, like, the Proteus.
Yeah.
The aesthetic of him. I really think the Nightmare aspect of Legion is really cool.
It's definitely underplayed. Like, I feel like there was a moment where it kind of ruled.
Mm-hmm.
So you think about it, like the Rake, the Proteus, even Typhon to a degree.
Mm-hmm.
Like, these are all like horrifying creatures.
Yeah.
If you saw, like, if I ever saw a Rake in real life, oh my god, I'm gonna shit myself.
Dunzo.
Like, Dunzo, Leap dead, and and then you have Zuriel coming out.
Hmm.
I mean, he's two machete wielding, dragon's fire breathing. I'ma kill you, and the Nerif, even if you think about it, I'm gonna draw you in, wrap you up, and just stab you in the face.
Yep.
Like it's crazy.
I
But
am a little jealous as I honestly don't know what direction Privateer Press could have brought the Glacier King, like if they could have made it something that wasn't just another giant troll. But I I mean obviously it's going to be an amazing model and the archetype is completely fine. Like we're
sure.
the Trollblood faction, so we get Trollbloods.
hmm So,
But
take a crack at it. What do you think would have been a cool idea? Because you read the fluff.
I do read a lot of the fluff. Honestly, I don't know. It kind of feels right now like without discovering like a new species that's been blessed by Dunia. All right, so maybe like elementals, something like that.
Just pure elementals.
Yeah, I think that would be interesting.
That'd be kind of cool.
Yeah, and
So,
I think that's kind of something that hasn't been completely explored yet.
I agree. Um, what I think is really cool is that the Mountain King kind of set like a baseline
Mm-hmm.
because you guys don't really have like an Earth beast.
Sure.
There's Earthborn. Those are nice. But like those aren't like that's not your Earth elemental beast.
Yeah.
Like you don't have a light Earth beast.
Mm-hmm.
Like so like realistically they could have done anything they wanted.
Sure.
I'm not really knocking on the Glacier King. I just think it was kind of funny that he shares the same name and similar, attributes.
Oh yeah, the whole like king name is completely hilarious.
Yeah.
Just like, of course, it's a kind of king. Like, what else would it be?
I want the Glacier Duchess. God damn it. Archduke Glacier. Like, I just think it's funny that they're both kings.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I don't know. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah, this is, I think, a really exciting time, and I think this book's going to be a lot more exciting than the previous War Machine book. I don't know if this is just because of how Privateer Press is doing their release cycle right now, but it really felt like the previous book kind of came out and nothing really came of it. Like,
So, you're talking about Vengeance or Exigence?
either one.
Um,
Like, I'm not,
so,
it didn't really feel like it.
Vengeance, everybody knew what everything was in there.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing was a spoiler.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, everything was spoiled. Exigence, again, we live in a day and age where like it's so easy for leaks to come out.
Mm-hmm.
Just be like, oops, I got all the pages. And all it takes is one guy to do that to ruin like 6 months of planning
Yep.
for the future. And it's just kind of like, yeah, whatever, Xerxes 2, I know what he does. They've, it's just, I don't know. Nothing super duper game changing
Mm-hmm.
came out of Exigence. A lot of good stuff came out,
Yeah.
but like,
I mean, there were new things, like Beast Packs are new and fairly interesting, I think.
but not game changing, right?
Yeah, not game changing.
So the only thing we can look towards that legitimately changed the game was the casters.
Mm-hmm.
Xerxes 2, Abby 2, Bradigus.
Yeah, and some of them absolutely have changed the game.
Totally, 100%. And when you look at that, I firmly believe that every single Exigence caster runs their Gargantuan magnificently.
Absolutely.
And it's an extremely underrated area that nobody seems to want to explore.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody would rather play 3 Scythians with Abby 2 instead of trying an Archangel. But it's fine. I understand. Those 3 Scythians, 9 times out of 10, you're probably going to get more work out of them.
Yeah.
But whatever.
I mean, so you look at, like, say, a caster like Apollonia 2, and there is a definite cost benefit when it comes to taking the 2 Scythians or the Archangel.
Hmm.
The multiple activations is really huge, and just throwing in something like a harm. So I saw this at TempleCon.
Yeah.
Apollonia 2 with 3 Scythians versus Borka 2 with Mountain King, Mulg, Earthborn.
Yeah, wait a
With
second. Now, naturally, I feel like that would be a bad matchup for Legion.
hmm
He's going to feat, they're going to go stationary, and there's nothing they can really do about it.
yeah.
So go ahead.
So with the Rake Tar Pit, you get to wait out the feat,
Hmm.
and then you get to Alpha.
Okay.
So with just a harm, 1 Scythian easily 1 rounds a Mountain King under Apollonia 2.
With the feet?
Yep.
Yeah.
Like, that's crazy.
And they're
And
pound 21.
honestly, you actually, like, so you're getting a comparable amount of attacks between the Scythian and the Archangel. Against the Mountain King, you're going to get the chain attack, most likely.
Oh, yeah.
So you pretty much have the same amount of initials and the same amount of attacks. So really, the only difference is a power 2.
Yeah.
Like, that's pretty underwhelming when you consider they have the exact same Fury stat,
Yep.
and even their threat ranges are identical.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
I'm sorry.
No, I think she's so awesome.
Apollonia too?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I mean, I'd rather play against her than P-Vale, but she is super legit, no doubt.
We've talked about that earlier, though.
Yeah, we've
Not
talked about
this
that before.
episode, in other conversations about the the consistency versus the burst.
hmm
Um, but yeah. So I think that wraps up our gargantuan topic.
I think so.
Um, are you gonna try a double Glacier King Mountain King list?
I'll definitely be trying a Glacier King somewhere. I don't really want to put 2 huge bases in the same list.
But why not?
I'm already playing probably between 5 and 8 points of support in whatever list that is,
Yeah.
and 2 potentially 20-point models is a lot,
It's true.
especially when, like, you want an Earthborn to, like, get their armor high up
Mm-hmm.
so they can survive. One list I keep meaning to try, and I really feel like I would have it was easier to bring a huge base on a subway, but I really want to play a Mountain King of Runes of War.
Why is that?
I really think that list actually does everything the Mountain King needs to. Like, for the things you're fighting against, Fortune is probably good enough with the amount of knockdowns and things you have from
Sure.
Rune Shapers. You go down to only 1 wall, but with the Mountain King and Janissa, you really only need that 1 wall.
Agreed. What was the list?
It's basically you're taking out Mauler, and Axer, and some Rune Shapers,
Mm-hmm.
and you sub in the Mountain King.
Okay.
So you lose 2 Fury on the Curlstone, you lose a wall, but you gain a huge transfer battery
Yep.
and a huge magnet for every gunshot and, like, charging heavy that is, I think, fairly survivable once you have the ability to put, like, multiple walls down
Mm-hmm.
and really protect him.
Sure. That's a pretty big deal.
Yeah.
Is there anybody else you'd like to see the Mountain King with?
I like Epic Doom Shaper a lot, obviously. Like, he's the one everyone was like, oh, you just put Wild Aggression on him, and you have Transmute, and you put every buff, and Mountain King's completely fine. And
Yeah.
while he's not completely fine, he's definitely playable.
One I think one of the most underrated things about Doom 2 is Primal Shock.
Mm-hmm.
Being able to do that 2 or 3 times, and then even not just off the Mountain King, just in general,
Mm-hmm.
to clear off those random little dudes to get that sweet charge lane.
Yep.
Oh man, it's crazy.
The Mountain King, like you can definitely see where the Mountain King suffered a little bit because its base strength is a little bit lower due to Primal Shock.
Yeah.
Which is unfortunate because its throws don't go quite as far. Its arm locks aren't, like, while still excellent against heavy warjacks and warbeasts, suffer a little bit.
Exactly. So maybe Glacier King will be amazing at it. Who knows?
I guess we'll see.
Yeah. What are we looking at for time right now?
We are at about an hour 40.
Awesome.
Thanks
So this has been a really fun episode, and I'm glad you guys listened. And next week we're going to be talking about playing to win. I recently went to a tournament, and Bree made a comment, and I said I was bringing these lists. You got to play to win. And he was talking to me, and he said, doesn't everybody? And it sparked up a really good conversation. So I'd like to bring it up next week and see what Jeff's thoughts are about that.
Awesome. I can't wait.
Okay.
So this has been Battle Driven. I'm Jeff with Dan, and thanks for listening.
Later.